the Guam Economic Development Authority. He's the deputy, but he's kind of leading the charge. Good morning, Ricky.
Morning, Chris.
I know you're kind of leading the charge on a lot of the economic recovery initiatives that are coming out of Adelup, and you did a presentation yesterday. You kind of want to just
Take
summarize
us through that, yeah.
Yeah, sure. We at Guam Economic Development Authority, I guess our goal really is to try and coordinate some of this economic activity, especially in terms of the recovery efforts. And what we provided was just kind of a summary. We led everyone to our website at investguam.com/coronavirus, and on that website we had put together a presentation just related to some of the already enacted economic recovery initiatives for not only businesses but some individuals and workers as well. And on that presentation, we kind of just summarize the who, what, where, when, why, and how of some of these. And really, the issues that we're having with some of the federal initiatives is that they just happened, and so obviously, I'm more of a coordinator than anything, and trying to coordinate some of the local agencies to interact with their, and they're already doing this, but just to kind of coordinate between agencies, to coordinate with their federal counterparts to ensure that whatever is available from an execution side for any of these economic recovery programs and initiatives, that we ensure that there is no delay or the least amount of delay possible to get these out to the business community and our people.
Okay, well, I'm on the website now, and it says federal and local economic recovery initiatives. Can you tell us about that? It says business operations assistance.
Yeah, sure. So this is kind of just a combination of what has been announced already by Governor Leon Guerrero in terms of some of the assistance to businesses in terms of helping their cash flow, like deferring 40% of business privilege taxes for those due in April, May, and June by 90 days per month. The extension of deadline this has already been announced nationally, of moving the filing deadline as well as the tax payment deadline for all income taxes, both individual and corporate. And there are many others. I can go through all of them if you'd like, but if there's any one in particular you'd like to talk about, I could kind of elaborate a little bit more on them.
First, I wanted to ask about who all is involved. Who are the people that are involved with putting this all together? Just GEDA and who else? Members of the business community?
Yeah, so the presentation was put together in collaboration with Guam Department of Labor and Department of Revenue and Taxation, because some of the couple of the federal initiatives, more specifically the Emergency Paid Leave Act and then the Emergency Family and Medical Leave Expansion Act, both touch basically those two agencies locally and then their federal counterparts. And so just in terms of trying to operationalize the legalese in the federal legislation and how that kind of trickles down into the federal agencies and now how it trickles down into the government agencies, that's where we're trying to navigate. And you probably know well enough too that oftentimes there's a little bit of a nuance to territories, and so how that is kind of communicated and how that is just implemented has to be kind of discussed specifically with Guam and different other territories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I'm getting at is who all is providing all the advice to the governor on the economic recovery plan, and I'm just wondering if the Chamber of Commerce is involved in any of this.
Oh yes. So the governor has had a couple meetings, I believe, with business organizations, including the Chamber of Commerce, Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association, Chinese Chamber of Commerce, just Women's Chamber of Commerce, and so forth. And the goal really is to try to create a group that could disseminate all of this information broadly, because GEDA and the governor's office may not be able to do it on its own. So we need obviously the partners to be able to disseminate information. How do you implement the emergency paid sick leave act? How do you implement that in your business? Because these things require notices that are supposed to be provided to employees in their workplace, and those notices come out from the Secretary of Labor. But how do you get that into businesses? And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to coordinate that so that when employees and employers need to implement this or receive the benefits from it, that information is available.
Mm-hmm. Can you take us through this Family First Coronavirus Response Act, the emergency family?
Yeah, sure. So those two. There's two programs there. There's obviously a lot more in that specific legislation, but these two are kind of specific to how impacting some of our a lot of our businesses. So there were two provisions or two programs under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and one of them, first one on our presentation, is the Emergency Family and Medical Leave Act, Expansion Act. And so what that basically is it's mandatory benefits that have to be provided to by employers to their employees if their employees, and obviously there's a lot of definitions of what's an eligible or what's an employer, right? It's supposed to be 500 or less employees. There's a lot of questions that we're receiving from the business community on, well, what if I have multiple DBAs? Do I roll them up into my parent company? There's a lot of those questions that are coming in. We're trying to get those answered, which is why it's important to have that group of business organizations so that we can disseminate it through them. But basically, for example, the FMLA, what that does is it requires the employers that are defined as required to implement this to provide leave benefits for their employees for up to 10 weeks after a 2-week period that may be used, they may use their own personal leave, their own sick leave, or if they're eligible for the Paid Sick Leave Act, they could use that. And so the question might be, well, how do these businesses pay for these benefits, and what are the eligibility for some of these employees? I just want to put a disclaimer that we're putting out this information, obviously, as assistance in terms of helping businesses try to understand what they need to do as it relates to the law. But I would urge all of the businesses, obviously, to work with their attorneys, work with their accountants, and work with their HR professionals to ensure how they're implementing it is in accordance with their professional advisors. But obviously, just providing some level of guidance and assistance on our end is what we're trying to do here. And so the way that these businesses are supposed to be paying for this is they would pay their employees these benefits based on the guidance that's provided, and they are eligible for what is considered a payroll tax credit that they can take against whatever they pay in terms of Social Security and Medicare taxes, and that's how they're able to pay for these leave benefits.
Hey, Ricky, so the Chamber of Commerce, of course, has been making a lot of noise about not being folded into these conversations. I know that you and the governor has also mentioned that she has the business advisors. So can we get some names? Who's on this? And is the chamber involved? Because we're going to talk to Christine. Do they get a seat at the table? Because I heard you mention every chamber organization except for the main one.
Oh, yeah, no. I think in one of our meetings, the chamber was represented in one of our meetings, at least yesterday.
By who?
It was Christine Bellet.
Okay.
Yeah, and obviously, with all of these things, a seat at the table in terms of all of these federal programs, that's, I think everyone would hope for a seat at the table for that. But
right.
Obviously, we're just trying to implement what is coming down for us, and so in terms of getting guidance and trying to advise the governor. All of that. I mean, there's a lot of people that have access to the governor in terms of just being able to call her because she's very accessible. Right. So, in that regard, there's a lot of informal discussions going on, as anyone would be able to have with the governor. But formal items and how to implement things and things like that. What we're trying to really do is really just try to provide the businesses guidance in terms of how what's coming down and how these are going to be implemented locally, and any information that we could get from businesses in their review of certain things is obviously something that we're willing to work with, and everyone there's hundreds of pages of information and reading that could be done. And what we, there's never enough help that we can get, right? And so at any of the business community, any questions they may have that we may not have thought about, obviously we're taking those in and we're trying to direct it to the federal counterparts that do have the answers. And a lot of times, as an example, Families First Coronavirus Response Act, that just came down like about a week ago, and federal agencies are still, the information is still trickling down.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, but a lot of those questions that have been answered, we are trying to update our website and include that there. But also, obviously, we're working very closely with Dave Della Sola at Guam Department of Labor and Daphne Shimizu at Department of Revenue and Taxation to, just to coordinate. And if they're just kind of leaning on GEDA to get out to the business community, but they're obviously the business community calls them directly as well. So, we're all kind of all hands on deck in terms of trying to ensure that all of these initiatives are carried out as expeditiously as possible.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ricky, for all the information that you provided. Again, the website, Invest Guam, right? Invest Guam /coronavirus.
GEDA's website is investguam.com/coronavirus. And we have links to all of the coronavirus, well, we tried to find all of them, but all of the coronavirus related local websites as well. So there's public health, revenue and taxation. And so you can look at, you can check our website. We update all the JICs as they come in and all of the short form JICs images that come in. And so we're trying to keep that up to date. And any of the guidance that comes down, we'll be posting that on our website as well. We just got some guidance from, Dave just sent some guidance regarding these leave benefits that are in the Families First Act. So we're going to be posting that today.
Right. And so, Ricky, a lot of maybe the delay is waiting for, like you said, these federal agencies to figure this out, because, I mean, we can't figure it out until they do, right?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that any of the federal agencies are, No,
I mean, because it's all new. It's all new. I mean, this
yeah.
Rapidly evolving.
Yes, and they're, whatever the government needs to provide to the federal agencies, that's what we're working on as well. So that's kind of, if they need information from the government of Guam, obviously we'll be coordinating to ensure that that information is provided so that there's no lag or stall in implementing any of these initiatives. Right on.
Hey, thank you, Ricky.
Okay, no problem.
Keep you safe.
Definitely appreciate it. Deputy Director of the Guam Economic Development Authority, Ricky Hernandez, with it sounds like they're kind of just getting started on this. What Mary Rhodes had said, I was thinking about that, was recovery doesn't really start until the end of what you're trying to recover from.
They're planning now, and they're providing whatever information they have to the community, and on their website. That website again is investguam.com/coronavirus. And hopefully we can get Dave Della Sola maybe next week when things start to settle a little bit with all the the relief package that's still before Congress, I think. And he can help sort all of that out for us.
I wanted to address, there was a comment here on our Facebook Live. Thank you guys so much for your comments. And we do try to read all the comments, obviously.